Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Highly Taken Podcast. Again, a man down, and again, Christian in a car. That's on your bingo cards right there. David Seifert back to you again from Tallahassee, Florida.
Christian Smith, currently in Delaware, will be in Maryland by MSU.
That's on your bingo card too. Christian going to multiple states and filming. That's great. But I guess, beginning of the weekend, we'll get into the dubs and chugs results. I haven't, since Nick isn't going to be here. So in last place, you got me. I went 4-6. Nick did not do 9 games again. He did 10 games once again. We need to make sure he knows how to count. In second place, it's a tie for first. Christian 5-5, and Nick went 5-5. The tiebreaker was the Pro Bowl, and the NFC won the Pro Bowl. So Nick would get the tiebreaker since he went with the NFC. Now, the only argument I have is the AFC won the flag football game 50-34, but because they included the stupid skill challenges inside of the Pro Bowl, that's what gave the NFC the edge. I think that's dumb. Makes no sense. But I don't know. I wish they just do the Pro Bowl the way it used to be. I wish I could see all my favorite players play. Just put it after the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'll take my loss on the chin. And you know what? Even to that, I'll even add it in. For Nick's sake, had I have won tiebreaker, I will say Nick did call the MVP. His hot take hit, so I'll even go ahead and throw it in for the bonus. Good job, Nick. Way to make something of yourself for once.
I'll say you came really close with your hot take, which was that somebody on Friday was going to hit 60 points. If you would have said the next day, Stephen Curry got 60 that day, you were just a day off there. So me, I didn't really come close. Gardner had 2 touchdown passes. So good job for Gardner. Way to go, buddy. Just didn't win that MVP, unfortunately. But I guess
Baker's a baller. It just kind of happens.
Yeah. I think Baker had like 3 touchdown passes, like all to Keenan Allen. It's kind of crazy. Keenan Allen had a 3 touchdown passes, so 3 catching passes. Wow. And yes, thank you. I can't speak English right now. But I guess we'll just go
NFC.
What?
CD scored 3 touchdowns for the NFC.
So yeah, that's right. CD was balling out. But we can go into the NFL. Breaking news, I guess, of yesterday. The Washington Commanders have signed Cliff Kingsbury as their OC, and they have announced that Eric Bieniemy is not going to be with the team next year.
Yeah, so interesting that happens there, right? Because of where Washington sits in the draft position and the amount of quarterbacks that are also available, whether it's via trade or free agency, that have also played for and under Cliff Kingsbury before. I think right now Washington is setting themselves up to either trade with Chicago and get the number 1 overall pick to acquire Caleb Williams, because he was just at USC with Cliff Kingsbury, or don't be shocked if Baker Mayfield decides, you know what, I'm going to go to Washington now. I've been waiting to see what OC I want to go and play with. Washington doesn't have a quarterback. I know Cliff. I've worked with Cliff before. Let's go to Washington. And now you got Baker in Washington. I can tell you right now, though, dude, that's a scary sight if you put Baker over there on that Washington offense. You get him a lineman, that's a scary sight.
Yeah, and that's word for word what I was going to say. I mean, it's a very interesting move. Obviously, Kingsbury was with USC last year as their offensive analysis. That means he has Caleb Williams. He's been there with him. He was the head coach freshman year at TTU with Baker Mayfield. And don't be shocked if somehow, I don't see it happening, if the Cardinals somehow trade with Washington and maybe they get Kyler Murray. Now, that's a big contract. I don't think they want to take that. But not out of the realm of impossibility to get Kyler Murray over to reunite with Kingsbury. But like you said, this team, we've talked about how good this offense actually is with Washington. I mean, you have Robinson Jr., you have Gibson, you have Curtis. Well, Curtis Samuel's not under contract, but I'm certain they'll either sign him or sign somebody else. You have McLaurin, you have Dotson, you have Logan Thomas as well. You just need an offensive line and a competent quarterback, and that's a good team. And Kingsbury is a really good offensive-minded coach, was a quarterback's coach before, so it'd be very interesting to see what they do this offseason now that they added that OC.
Yeah, and I mean, the list of quarterback history, too, with Cliff Kingsbury, I mean, it's not a bad list. not a great, amazing list, especially when you pan it into the NFL. But you look at it in college, man. I mean, he coached I believe. Did he coach Jalen in college? Yeah, I believe he coached Jalen in college. He coached Baker in college. He coached Kyler in college. He coached Kyler at the Cardinals.
Pat,
Like he's had a lot of good quarterbacks come through his system. And again, with Caleb Williams this past year, everyone's basically saying he's success number one overall pick. So I think if he can get one of his guys back in there into that system, Washington's next step is just going to be a line, and they could be a team that's ready to compete.
yeah, and it'd be interesting because we've been talking about the Chicago Bears, right? They had that one pick. They would have to almost certainly trade Chicago, or Chicago may bait them into trading that, saying, "Hey, like if you guys don't trade with us, we're gonna go get Caleb. If you guys want Caleb that bad, you got to trade with us to get Caleb." Because the Bears are kind of in a win-win situation. They either trade Justin Fields to somewhere and get a hefty pick for him, or they trade that first and get some hefty capital for that to whomever wants Caleb Williams. So it's a very interesting situation the Bears are in. Really, if I were them, you wonder if they're sitting there preparing for both situations, no matter what, because they're not really sold on Fields, but also at the same time, not really willing to give Fields away so easily.
Right. Yeah, that's a situation I'm paying the closest attention to throughout this offseason is the Bears because of what that team could possibly become in a matter of one offseason, right? I mean, yeah, if you're asking me, in my opinion, I think it is in their best interest to trade away that first round pick because of what Caleb Williams is basically worth to every other team right now. You know what I personally don't think Caleb Williams is going to be that great of a quarterback coming into the NFL. I just don't. But everybody else is regarding him as one of a generational talent. You're going to have more drafts with more quarterbacks that come through, man. Like, I think for me, your best option is to trade away, get the haul for it. And if you decide at the end of this year, okay, look, Justin Fields isn't our guy, you just got a whole haul this past year that you could basically rebundle back in come next year for a top pick for a new quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens there. There's not much going on in the NFL leading up to the Super Bowl, and we're probably going to talk about more of that on Friday as it becomes before the Super Bowl. The only other NFL news I have is Patrick Mahomes Sr. was arrested for a DWI. I hope that doesn't distract from Mahomes, but I will say you got to feel bad for Patrick Mahomes at this point. He has so many off the field distractions with that freaking dysfunctional family. It's unreal.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy actually. It's pretty not funny, but it's very interesting.
Yeah, you have obviously Jackson who had assault charges against him and was dancing on Sean Taylor's memorial at the stadium. You have Brittany who's just annoying, and now unfortunately Taylor Swift has added herself in the mix with Travis Kelce and everything in the box. So I can only imagine what can be going through his head. I don't think it will affect him at all. He's a competitor, he's a champion, so but he's got to feel kind of bad for him that he's sitting there trying to make the best for him and all his family's just going wild around him. I guess that'll get us into yeah. I'll go certified baller. Oh, it's frozen.
You there?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Sorry, so certified baller. Yeah, I mean, I feel like with everything that kind of happened over the weekend, not a whole bunch of places to go with it. So I'm probably going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and give it to Steph. Steph went ahead. He dropped 60 against the Hawks. Actually, how much was it? 61, I think he dropped against the Hawks. Sadly, they weren't able to get the job done, but granted, that's how it goes when Klay Thompson's shooting like 8 of 24. So happens. But, yeah, I'm going to have to give it to Steph. He probably had the best performance out of the past weekend. You got a certified baller, David?
Funny enough, I was going to say Stephen Curry as well. When you're averaging 40.8 points per game, including a 60 piece, even if it's to a loss, he's doing it all himself right now. It's great. I had a backup just in case you did pick Steph. My certified baller is the forgotten hero of winter, the one who never gets his recognition when it comes to holidays. That's right. My certified baller is going to be Punxsutawney Phil, the goat of groundhogs. Did not see his shadow. That means we're having an early spring this year. That's great. Bring on the warmer weather. Bring on the sunshine, baby. Get that cold air away. Punxsutawney Phil, you are my certified baller.
Nice. I like it. I like it.
I guess that gets into deflated ball, or who do you think sucked ass this? Wow, why would I say that? Who do you think sucked ass this last week?
Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and just drop it back to the entire Golden State team. I don't know what the heck the curse is around people dropping 60 and not getting a win. But I feel like that has to change, right? Like, I mean, if somebody is snapping and going off, somebody help him. I mean, again, Clay, you went 8 of 24. Like, dude, come on, my guy. Like, we got to bust down some shots here, man.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it before. When it comes to those like high scoring games, sometimes the best thing to do is let the guy score and just make sure everybody else doesn't, because one guy's not going to beat you by himself, especially in the NBA when people are averaging like 110 points per game. I'm going with the Dallas Mavericks. You were up by 25 points against the Bucks and end up losing by 12. You got a 37-point swing in the span of one game, which is awful. I like you're saying with the Warriors, especially Clay. He averaged 16 points per game this last week on 19 for 58 shooting. That's 33% from the field. Absolutely awful. That's disgusting, dude. Not even like your G League players are putting up 33% field goal. And you're supposed to be one of the best shooters of all time. And he's just, I don't know what's wrong. I don't know if it's he just can't get enough lift when he's jumping because of his knees, or if he's just that far past his prime.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That's a great question. That's a good one though. I like that one right there. Yeah, I couldn't believe that. I remember. I think I put a bet on Mavericks money line too that night, and I mean, obviously, that didn't pan out too well.
Yeah.
But
You had them winning in dubs and jugs. So but I
yeah.
guess we'll go with hot take of the week would be next.
Philadelphia Phillies signed Cody Bellinger this.
That would be interesting, mainly because I have no idea where the heck they would put him. They would
Center
have
field.
to center, so we're getting rid of Rojas.
What, you want Rojas's bat in the lineup too?
He has good defense. I'm not sure about Cody's defense, but yeah, I mean that'd be interesting. That would definitely would increase the bats. It's just again, if the Phillies are doing anything, please, for the love of God, get pitching. You can only score so many runs during a game. Like you're not going to be scoring 20 a game. I would love to see more bats. More bats is always great, but get some pitching, please. Put some money into Snell. Defer his money until like 2097. I don't care. Defer all that money. I really don't. I really don't know at this point. Just get a pitcher. Get Trevor Bauer.
Yeah,
He's probably very cheap right now.
about to say, yeah, go get Snell and Bauer at the same time. Give them both. I give them a total of 500 mil combined, but defer it for the next 45 years. We'll be all right.
No, I guess we get to some NBA news. Couple people had gotten injured for the season. One of them being Zach LaVine. He's out with a foot injury, has to have surgery on it, which is very interesting because that was one of the bigger names on the trade block coming up to the deadline this year.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know. So he's out for the year?
Yeah, he has to have foot surgery. He's out for the year.
Huh? I didn't know that. And he's still on the Bulls, right?
Yeah, he's still on the Bulls. So
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that was a big name that was on the block, but there goes that.
I mean, it's just such a shame. First, the Bulls are such a weird team because I feel like almost every single person on the Bulls team is on the block right now, but they're also like contending for a playoff spot at the same time, which is so weird. Because I've heard DeRozan on the block, I've heard LaVine on the block, I've heard Vucevic on the block, I've even heard Alex Caruso on the block, possibly going to the Warriors. So it's very interesting. The Bulls being a big seller, but at the same time being contender. So it's very interesting. I mean, maybe they think the East is so top heavy, it's going to be really hard to even push through if you do make it. But it's a big blow nonetheless, whether it's him not being on the court or him not being able to be traded.
Yeah.
See, sorry, you can go. Sorry.
No, I'm just saying it's gonna be interesting to see what's going on. But what else you got around the NBA?
I have a lot. NBA is my biggest subject of the day. And the funnier news, though, Doc Rivers was named the All-Star coach for the East, which seems completely insane to me that they done it after one or two games. Like, why Doc Rivers out of all the coaches? Couldn't they not have gotten? Was it the Celtics who made who made the? Was it the Celtics who made the finals last year?
So
The Heat. It was the Heat.
the way it works is the Celtics coach coached the All Star game last year, and if you coached the All Star game the year before, you're not allowed to coach again. And technically the way it goes is the highest seed, that coach coaches the All Star team. So like whoever the number one seed is come play like All Star time. Well, right now currently it's the Celtics, so it can't be the Celtics coach because he did it last year. So it went to Milwaukee, and Doc Rivers just so happened to be the coach who walked into being the coach of the second place team.
Yeah, I found out too that the All-Star game players and coaches get rings for being in the All-Star. I did not know that until I heard that he's deferring his ring to the old Bucks coach. And I was like, first of all, who cares? Second of all, why do you get a ring for just making an All-Star game? Can you imagine how many rings LeBron James must have just sitting there collecting dust right now?
Facts.
But yeah,
Yeah.
and I guess in trade news, we have Steven Adams. He was traded from the Grizzlies to the Rockets for Victor Oladipo and 3 second-round picks.
Yeah, that's an interesting one right there. Yeah, that's an interesting one right there. But you know what? I think the Rockets are really getting the big man that they kind of need and that they're kind of wanting. Like a real strong guy that's going to go up, get your boards, and be able to dish back out to your young bucks, and then at the same time, get his, even get his. So I think it's going to be a pretty good trade for the Rockets. And on top of that, I mean, you're getting a lot of second round picks. You know what I mean? Those aren't necessarily golden, but they're not bad. Victor Oladipo, he's getting up there in age. You know what I mean? His time, and I feel like he's not what he used to be 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, well, it's unfortunate for him how much he's been injured, which is the crazier reason of why the Grizzlies just went and traded for an injury-prone guy, considering they could only play with, I think, 8 guys their last game because everybody else is injured. I mean, you have Ja, who's out for the year. Jared Jackson's out not for the year. Jared Jackson's out. Marcus Smart's out. They have a bunch of guys that are out, and they just traded for one of the most injury-prone people in the league. Although when he's playing, he's good, but he's still a very injury-prone player. Very interesting. I just wonder if the Memphis Grizzlies are in tanking mode so they can get a better draft pick to start off next season when they have everybody healthy again.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Try to see if they can find themselves into a lottery pick or something.
Yeah, get a lottery pick somebody who's like really good, and that's a young core when that happens. So, I have a couple more things in NBA. Next one's going to be the Clippers, who are staying hot. They are 25-5 since the start of December, third in the West, but only one game back of the Thunder and the Timberwolves, who are tied for first. Should the NBA really start being scared of the Clippers?
Oh man, it's so tough. It really is. Because you're talking about 3 guys who, of the 3, Kawhi is probably the most consistent as of now. And the one that's always the healthiest. Harden's not always being there with the consistency, and he's not always ready to go. And same thing with PG. I feel like every time I look back at the screen and look at PG's resting his fucking freaking knee with ice on it. Like, so I guess it's just going to be how long can it hold up. For now, yeah, I mean, teams need to be ready and bring their A game. But for me personally, I think it's just a question of how long is it going to hold before it falls. I really do. I just think that something's going to come. I don't hope, unlike Nick, I don't hope for injuries or anything like that. But I just don't know how long it's going to hold up. I don't know how long it's going to last for. You're talking about an older Harden and an older PG. And, a middle of the career Kawhi. Like, it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and past that, you have a lot of older players. Past that, I guess the only reason why I can't sit here and say I would just be like, yeah, they're 100% the favorites right now. It's just because I feel like they don't have a lineup that's built or rotation that's built for the playoffs for a 7-game series. I feel like missing that big man is going to be tough. When you get into the nitty gritty, when you're playing your Denver Nuggets for a best 4 out of 7 series, you have Chet Holmgren, you're playing Rudy Gobert, Edwards, and Karl-Anthony Towns, some big
and
teams.
Wembanyama.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I don't think the Spurs are making the playoffs. I think they're last place right now.
You said first.
But yeah, it's very interesting to think about it, and they're a good guard team, and they're scoring points. I just feel like at some point, you play 4 games out of 7. I don't think it's going to hold up. They can prove me wrong. Like I said, they're only 1 game back of that first seed. They're playing good ball right now, about halfway through the season, so it'll be interesting to see where they finish. when it all holds up. How far do you think this Clippers team can go? Truthfully, right now, how far do you think this team will go?
Western Conference Finals is where I could see.
Yeah.
That's the farthest I can see them going. I think they're gonna run into. Dude, I think this might be the Thunder's year. I think they're gonna run to the Thunder, and it's gonna get tough.
I mean, if the Thunder end up winning it all with as many draft picks and stuff as they have, that will be absolutely crazy. But I agree with you. I think that's where I would put them too. I don't think I could see them getting past the Western Conference Finals. Again, I just don't think they have the team for that. And then as it goes on, you'll have people like Kawhi and Paul George and Russ and Harden who need to play multiple games, and they play longer seasons, a longer series. The wear and tear is going to be there. Will they stay consistent? Who knows? We all know James Harden isn't the best postseason performer. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens there. And I guess the last thing in the NBA I want to touch on, something unfortunate, near and dear to our hearts, is going to be Joel Embiid going to be out for an extended period of time.
Yeah, that's. Can you see me right now?
It just says your name.
Oh, what the heck, man! I'm trying to get it to. I don't know why it's doing that, but yeah, that one sucks. That one is, not what you want to hear as a Philly fan. And I guess now it kind of look. I feel like if you're in that Sixers franchise right now, you're in the office. You got to look at it this way: like you have two options basically when it comes to Embiid and your season. Right? Is you either shut it down completely, the season's a bust, and that's that. Like you're gonna end your season, maybe making the playoffs, maybe not, but you're risking it. Like, like I feel like I don't know. I just feel like at this point you have to look at it and go, okay, we need to make a trade. Like we need something that's gonna promise us to get to the playoffs, so that way we can have an 100% Embiid back and we can make a run. And then on top of that too, though, like you're getting 100% Embiid back, and you're also getting another guy to add to that roster. So like something just has to be done. It's got to get done quick because the trade deadline's coming up. It's right around the corner. But if Embiid's going to sit there and he's going to rehab and he's going to take the process back, then, dude, we have to get the team ready. Basically, prepare them for playoffs. But the first thing is we got to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean that's the big thing is you got to make the playoffs, and we've seen how this team has been without Embiid this year, and it hasn't looked good. I mean, like we said, Maxey can only do so much. Harris can really do only so much. I mean, even when Maxey puts up 50, they were only winning by 3 points. How do you replace a guy who's averaging 36 points a game, 11 and a half boards a game, 5 to 6 assists per game? How do you replace that in your lineup? You can't. You really can't replace that in your lineup. There isn't a window they're giving with this injury. Where do you think they end up at the end of the season? Like, truthfully, do they get a deal done? Where do you see them ending up at the end of the season?
I think with the team that is there currently in Philly, I don't think another trade gets done. I think they're going to try to bite the bullet and make an attempt to get there. I think Philly goes probably to about the 8th seed, but I think one way or another they at least find themselves to the play-in game.
Yeah, I'm holding on for hope right now. That just because of I feel like there is a big gap between like the 4th, 5th, 6th. There's like somewhat of a gap there in those teams. I'm hoping that stays up for the remainder of the season. But like I said, you're not replacing 36, 11 and a half, and 5 a game. You're not doing that. You can only hope that somebody steps up. Somebody like Oubre steps up. Somebody like Reed steps up. Tobias steps up in a bigger way than he has been. Because if not, then you're right. It's almost a waste of a season. You're going to have to hope that Embiid's ready for playoffs. If I'm the Sixers, I'm shutting him down for the rest of the regular season. I'm letting him rest. Let that knee rehab 100%, and then I'm playing him when we get the postseason if he's ready. Especially maybe if there's a first round matchup that we feel fine in. We get an easy matchup that first round. We can probably sit him again. But it's just you don't want to push Embiid. He's arguably the best player in the NBA. He's a reigning MVP.
Yeah.
So another thing I want to talk about is going to be it seems the reason why Embiid got hurt as much as he did is because he pushed himself to go into that game, especially with the new rules that are being made for missing games.
Yeah.
Do you think that had anything to do with him trying to push himself? And two, do you think there should be any kind of rule change, rule adjustments being made to keep this in mind that guys are going to try to be pushing themselves to get their bonuses? Because obviously, all NBA teams come with $100,000 $1 million
Right,
bonuses. Awards
right,
come with bonuses. So,
right.
kind of, where's your mindset on that as well?
So, yeah, here's what I gotta say to that is when it comes, I think, well, okay, I think Embiid 100% was pushing to come back and play and be back there. So he was eligible for his MVP trophy and whatnot, and all the awards and accolades. But I can understand it for the MVP trophy. I can, and if you want to go for like your defensive player of the year and whatnot, but that's all one singular player. That's all one singular person awards. When we start talking about stuff like the All NBA team and things like that, that's when it becomes, in my opinion, a little different. And I know in the group chat with you and Nick, I used that example. I'll even say it again. Tyrese Halliburton is a perfect example of a guy who has been playing out of his mind this year. That's just absolutely been balling, and without question is probably going to make the All NBA team. Except now it's in question because if he had an injury that he couldn't help, a legitimate injury that came to him. He wasn't resting. He wasn't just sitting out. And now the guy can only miss three more games the rest of the year. And if he does miss those 3 games, he's not eligible for the All NBA team in a contract year, which would give me an extra $100 million on top of it all. And it's like, okay, now you got to sit back and look and say, okay, look, now we're costing people money, like players money, and it's not their fault. And I understand what they're trying to do, and where they're trying to get rid of the bullcrap rest so that way fans aren't paying all this money for a ticket, and then they get there, and then 10 minutes before game time, they find out that the one person that they just spent their life savings on to see isn't playing. And I understand that. But I feel like things had to be listed in the right way. Like, if you're injured, you're injured. Like, that's it.
Right.
And that goes down. Like, that's how it is. You can't hold that against someone. You know what I mean? Like, and at the end of the day, if you get injured for a majority of the season, they're not gonna name you MVP anyways. You know what? And like nobody, and you wouldn't expect to be named MVP. Look at Carson Wentz. I know it's a different sport, but look at Carson Wentz this year. He was gonna be the MVP, got hurt short. Okay, everyone was like, yeah, Carson was gonna be, but he wasn't because he didn't play long enough. And like nobody trips over that. So I just don't understand why they made a limit to it for certain things like that. But it's gonna be. I feel like there's just more things to figure out with it all. But right now, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, just like NIL, a new thing. We're in the first year of these new rules that are being made. But like you said, it's very interesting because part of being able to get super max contracts and max contracts is all NBA teams. That's one of the criteria. If you make like an all NBA team, then you get a super max. So it's very interesting that these guys are missing out on tens and hundreds of millions of dollars, which, ooh, boo hoo. But at the end of the day, that's that guy's profession. Even if we think a dude throwing a ball through a hoop shouldn't be making $100 million, that's the money that he's worth because of how much money he's bringing in. So it makes sense. Even if he's missing $10 million, $100 million, that's still his money, still his future. He's the reason that's coming in. So it hurts. It does hurt the bottom line for those players who are putting it day in and day out for you to take away their chances of getting those max contracts because of a new rule in place. And I'm sure at some point they'll have to go in and talk about it. Just unfortunate that this year, especially for all those guys who are in contract years, that they could be screwed over because of that. But I don't have much. Yeah, I don't have much in NBA to talk about. I only have about 2 more things to talk about. And after that, if you have anything, we can add it. College football news: Washington has a new defensive coordinator. And a surprise twist into Steven Belichick, and former outside linebacker coach of the Patriots, and obviously son of Bill Belichick. How much does this help Washington after losing their head coach?
Oh man, we're talking about a generational talent here, buddy. We really are. No, I mean I don't know anything about the guy. I just know that his dad is Bill. I think I've seen a couple memes of him. Is this a kid with a long hair, like long blonde hair kid?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen a couple memes of him surface through the internet of him like just with his tongue out on the sideline, like looking all like stupid. But hey, if the guy knows how to run a defense, then why not, right?
Yeah, very interesting that he just ends up going to like the second place team in NCAA. It'll be interesting with him going against Big Ten schools next year. And maybe this is his way of starting to climb up the ranks to get back into the NFL as a regular head coach. Because obviously, since his dad left, he wasn't going to be on the coaching staff, probably in New England.
Mhm.
But I guess the last thing I'll talk about is going to be the Senior Bowl. Apparently, Spencer Rattler and Bo Nix looked pretty good in the Senior Bowl for touchdown. Both throwing touchdowns. The only two touchdowns because the final score was 16-7. Penix sat out the game. Um, do you think that Rattler's stock went up after this performance?
Fuck. Yo, you know what's crazy is it did. That's the worst part is that it did, right? Like somebody out there, or like one team out there is now looking at him and going, okay, wait a minute. We could get this guy in the second round, maybe, boys. And it's
If
just like,
that, like you can go farther back, probably
right,
for Spencer
right. And
Rattler.
it's just like, geez, dude, this is the kid who I think at this point doesn't need to go until fourth, fifth round. Like, I don't know, man. I think that's the craziest part is yes, his draft stock did go up. I feel like from that, but I don't know, not a kid that I would be taking for my team.
Yeah. I mean, also big shout out. I heard Luke McCaffrey, yes, brother of Chris
Yeah,
McCaffrey, actually did pretty well during the Senior Bowl.
yeah.
I'll be interested if he gets drafted. I guess the last input I'll have on this is: do you honestly think the Senior Bowl is, has any impact on NFL teams deciding what to do with players coming in?
No, I think it's about time we created the Junior Bowl at the end of the day because a lot of these guys don't. I mean, everybody leaves after junior year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everyone leaves junior year. I understand what they're trying to do with the Senior Bowl. Like, I get it, but at this point, you got like, dude, things change, man, and everybody's going out to junior year. You want something? You really want to see the talent that's out there? Like, do a Junior Bowl. Like, look at everybody who's trying to leave right then and there. I don't know, bro. I don't know. I feel like if you're staying there for your senior year, everybody always says there's really no upside to staying in school for your senior year. Next to none. You know, especially if you're like a first round pick, there's literally next to no upside to stay for a senior year. So I don't know. I mean, although everything that happens after the championship game, I feel like in NCAA, it's just pointless.
Yeah, I mean, I think nowadays it's almost as smart to not do that because if you have a bad game, your stock could go down. You got a guy like Penix Jr. who doesn't really need it. You can really just want to just hit the combine, but hit your pro day hard, and that really all that matters at sometimes. But yeah, I like what you're saying. Kind of do like a Junior Bowl or like a declaration bowl, like people who declare for the draft and go in and play. At this point, the Senior Bowl is only for like people are like, okay, I could see drafting this guy in the sixth or seventh round or picking him up after the draft's over as an undrafted free agent. That's probably more likely what this Pro Bowl, what this Senior Bowl is about nowadays. I remember the days where like you saw like your Ted Ginn Juniors and Troy Smiths, your big college players play in this game. But obviously with
Yeah.
injuries and stuff, that's not a thing anymore. Nobody's playing in this bowl.
Yeah, for sure.
That's all I have. Do you have anything you want to add today?
Nah, I don't think so. I think that's about all.
I'm fine with the short episode. I mean, I don't have any trivia questions or anything. So if you don't have anything to add, I'm fine with ending it until Friday.
Yeah, no, I'm good with. Hold on, man. I feel like there's something that I wanted to say. I feel like there was just something that I wanted to give out there, a hot topic of conversation.
Well, I'll add something real quick.
Go ahead.
I found out yesterday that they are playing the World Cup final at MetLife Stadium
Yeah,
and for the FIFA World Cup. Absolutely insane. Out of
yeah,
all the stadiums you picked the one where everybody just blows their like
yeah.
Achilles out.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy when we see Messi and Ronaldo just blow their ACLs out.
Mbappe is going to go for a PK to win the game and blow his freaking Achilles.
Yeah, right, bro. It's just the disaster.
That's Nick's wet dream right there.
Oh, did you see that they're doing a full digital court thing for like the NBA All Star?
I saw they're doing the whole LED court thing. Is that not distracting? Like all those lights? I don't. maybe I'm just like an old man at heart. I'm like, give me my hardwood floors, but like LED lights shining in your face to seem I don't know. I'm not an NBA player. I came nowhere close.
I will tell you this much. It's kind of distracting, but it's also kind of, I don't know if you ever got to experience the greatness of what is Mario Sports Mix for the Wii, but they had a digital basketball court on there with like when you in one of their settings, so it was pretty cool. So I guess I could say that I played on one before, and that I can say it was pretty dope.
I'm glad we had Mario Sports Mix to get that comparison between actual basketball and Mario Sports Mix on the Wii. But yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll look cool. It will look cool to us. Like I'm pretty sure watching the TV, seeing like the floor change is gonna look cool. I just don't know if like I want to go up there and try to shoot a 3-pointer and then like see like a blue light shine in my face as I'm trying to take that shot.
Yeah, for sure. What about Steph versus Sabrina? Who do you got?
Oh, give me Sabrina in an upset. I know she's shooting from the NBA range. I know Stephen Curry's best shooter all time. She's using the smaller ball. Give me Sabrina.
Wow, my boy, my fucking boy. Okay, I like it, bro. Want Sabrina? Okay.
I want Iguodala. No.
I want Iguodala. Yeah, for real. All right, my man. Well, yeah, I'm good if you're good, bro.
All right. Well, enjoy your week. I'll see you on Friday. Hopefully, we can get Nick in this thing. I'll try to see if I can get off early enough to get Nick on the podcast.
You know what? We probably told her for you. Yo,
all right, well, I'll talk to you, man.
Let me introduce
you guys have a good week. Like Nick said last Friday in his great words, do whatever you want. Have a good week.
Later.
Dive into the game from hoops to gridiron, analyzing every play like we was the champion. With witty banter and humor, we keep it fun. HTP fam, we always bring the number one. Highlight taking pockets, we taking over the scene. We drop dubs and chugs, living the sports dream. From hot takes to deep dive, it's a winning regime. Come join the hype. We not just blowing.